Welcome to Practicing Life, a podcast where I share my personal journey with you so that you can be the person you want to be. I'm Ashley Pitzer, the host of this podcast, fantasy writer, yoga instructor, personal trainer and fitness instructor, mom of 2 kids on the autism spectrum, and wife to a twin flame. Now, let's balance our mind, body, and spirit. Let me ask you, when is the last time you have wondered if you are on the right track? If you heard your intuition correctly? If you are doing what you are supposed to be doing? My guess is this resonates with you and you are not alone in seeking the answers and wanting to know and wanting to experience the validation that you are aligned and on the right path. You may understand that the answers are within, but feel stuck or blocked from receiving the answers. Perhaps you don't have the time, energy, or ability to sit in meditation and wait for the answers to come. We live in a fast-paced world with plenty of demands on us. Well, you are going to be excited that I have an option I'd like to invite you to. Since the beginning of time, people have been asking the question, who am I? What is my purpose? This is one of the reasons that the personal development field, things such as tapping, hypnosis, and oracle card pulling are growing. In the past 5 years, oracle card reading has doubled and it tripled during the pandemic. Now, more than ever, people are turning to card reading to help get clarity around their present situation and to reduce their anxiety. I use oracle card reading to help coach people, to bring greater awareness and to empower them through the guidance I receive. Who doesn't want validation or to hear what their guides have been trying to get through to them? If you are like my clients, you're going to be glad you reached out to me. For a short time, I am offering channeled card readings where I connect to our guides to answer a question that is pressing on your mind. If you are interested, go to my website, which is going to be found in the episode notes, and book a session with me today. I'm here to help guide you to a more aligned life. I'm Ashley Pitzer. Hello, beautiful souls. This is Ashley Pitzer, your host with Practicing Life podcast. And I'm here today with news on multitasking. So, for many of you, multitasking is the way of life. Every business, it seems like, wants a job description that says they will hire someone who is capable of multitasking. It is the way of the world. We are busy. Our businesses are busy, and more places are putting stress and emphasis on multitasking. And it's something that we do so much of that we don't step back and see what is actually happening when we multitask. And I'm going to talk to you about that today. If you really would love to know my personal viewpoint, it is that multitasking in a lot of instances is harmful to our production. This can be seen in other places. I'm not the only one who has realized this. When cars first started to assemble factory lines, it was because they realized that multitasking wasn't working. So originally, when cars were built, they were built all at once, one car at a time. And it was taking months to produce a car. And so they sat down and they looked at it from an efficiency standpoint, and they discovered that it would be better to do an assembly line where one person focuses on one task and they do that task over and over, which creates 2 types of efficiencies because each person becomes, on that assembly line, each person becomes specialized in that task. And they do it so much that it becomes automatic. Their body moves without having to put very much thought into it. So there was efficiency from the time management as well as from the skill level. And then cars were being able to be produced by the thousands. And so we know, we have examples. There's evidence that says that multitasking isn't all that it's cracked up to be. But we live in a society now where it sometimes feels like that's the only way to survive. You have to multitask everything. Even now, when I sit down and I reflect on my business, I am writing my book. I'm an author. I am coaching people. I am doing hypnosis, and I'm doing oracle card reading. And there's 4 different lines of business there, and I have it structured. But the thing is, like, I'm not jumping from 10 minutes of writing to 2 minutes of oracle card reading. Not that this would ever happen, but I'm just giving you a picture. I'm not jumping from one thing to the other thing, juggling all these things at once. I'm designating blocks of time that say this is the only thing I am going to focus on. And therefore I am productive and I can manage all of these things. So what I want to help you understand today, if there's anything that I could offer you, it would be to shift your focus from multitasking to setting a priority, going down a list in that priority order, and focusing on one task at a time. This may seem counterintuitive after the life that we have lived, a life of doing everything all at once. But as the example in the car, this is truly the most effective way to do things. So I want to start off by saying, when you multitask, you're not truly multitasking in the way that the society views it. You're not doing, in most cases, you're not doing 2, 3, 4 tasks at the same time, because your body is only able to do certain commands at once. So, and this is not taking, into consideration some things that are like mindless and your body can do automatically. This is specifically in relation to your focus, your mental capacity. So I'm giving you that criteria because there are things that, we can drive, which has now become, in a lot of ways, a non-conscious activity. We've done it so much. We're familiar with it. When we, first turned 16 and got our driver's license, that wasn't the case. We had to completely focus. But, as we have become proficient in it, it is something that we can do mindlessly in a lot of cases because we have the subconscious that drives for us. It becomes that automatic program that you run into your system. So like, for instance, if you know that you're going to your parents' house, or you're going to work, or you're going to the grocery store, it is literally like giving your subconscious that one word command, grocery store. You get in the car and you're automatically going to the grocery store without thinking about the number of stops that you have to make, or the pace that you're going, or cars butting in front of you. Like, all of those thoughts don't even need to register in your mind. You can do those automatically without thinking, which is one of the reasons why so many people get into the habit of using their cell phone while they're driving, because they're not really using very much mental capacity at that time. And so, sometimes people are picking up the phone and engaging their cognitive, their mental functions to do other things while they're driving, or people maybe applying makeup, or, they may be talking to their kids and telling them a story. So there's times when you are multitasking, you're driving and you're telling a story, but that's because there's an automatic function going on that doesn't require your mental capacity. But when it comes to things that require your mental capacity, you're truly only able to focus on one thing at a time. So when we say multitasking, what is really happening is your ability to shift your focus from one object to another object is multitasking. How quickly can you shift your attention from, let's say at work, answering the phone to coming back to the document, the project you were working on? Can you take 15 calls while you're working on a project? And can you shift your attention that quickly and have immediate focus? That's what multitasking is. It's how quickly you can shift your focus from one task to another. But all the while, when you're on the phone, if you're working on a project, if you're doing something that requires mental capacity, it limits what your brain is able to do outside of that. So, for instance, you can be on the phone and you can be typing, but have you ever noticed that as you're typing, you stop listening to the person on the phone because your brain is already in a set of it's already in a set of focusing. So there are people who can switch back and forth relatively quickly. But what I want you to compare this to is think about sports here, track. I don't know. I'm thinking of elementary school when we had to have those physical education tests and we had to do, I think it's called the shuttle. I don't know. You would run 5-10 steps depending on your length of stride, and you would tag a line and then you would immediately shift, turn back, and go in the other direction. So in a lot of ways, this is what your brain is doing. It is running towards this line, it is tagging it, then your whole body, your whole mental capacity is turning and shifting, and it's running the other direction. So it's how quickly can you shift from one thing to another. And so what I want you to think about is how effective is that truly? Because when you're on a task and it requires your focus, if you're constantly shifting directions the whole time, you're truly not getting very far. Just like in that little PE example, you're running from 5 to 10 steps, turning around and running back. So you're not really getting the distance. And when we think about a lot of things, especially in the business world, when you're working on a project, when you have an 8-hour day is like a marathon. And all day long, you're asking yourself to be in the sprint mentality of running 5 to 10 steps, checking off that line that you did. Okay, I did this phone call. I turned in this report. You're shifting directions and you're running the other way. Just like a hamster on a wheel. You're just go, 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 go. But you're not really truly getting anywhere. And when the day is set up for an 8-hour work day and you have like a marathon in front of you, sprinting to one place, accomplishing that task and sprinting to another gets into mental exhaustion. And so you can train your body and you can train your mind to perform this way. And this is how most of us have lived. But is it really getting you the results that you want? At the end of the day, do you feel like you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish? At the end of the day, are you getting the results that you want to see? You see, I am a former risk manager. And one of my jobs was doing acquisitions and mergers. So I would come in and see if a company was worth purchasing. And if the risk, paid off, my second function was to go in and learn people's positions and learn how to do their job. And then I would type up a operating procedure. So I would type up how to do this job the most efficient way. So in this job, I would sit down and I would watch people work and I would learn how they would do it. And then I would turn around and document it and make any improvements that needed to be made. And so from someone who has done this for a lot of years, studying how people work, studying how people do their job, watching them and then turning around and making improvements on it, I can tell you that multitasking isn't all that it's cracked up to be. So I want you to think about a fire. You're having a cold winter night. It's snowing outside. It's the perfect type of day to put a fire in your fireplace. And you go over and you stack your wood and you ignite, whatever it is, whether you're, someone who can do it without cheating blocks. So, whatever it may be, you go over and you light your fire. And you're expecting this fire, the results that you're expecting is not only that this fire creates this pleasant atmosphere, right? The crackling of the wood, the glow of the fire, but you're also expecting an outcome of heat coming from the fire. That fire has one job. It is to burn the wood. And it does it really well. But let's imagine a fire multitasking. The fire goes out, the fire comes on, like flickering, like a candle flickering. How much heat is going to be produced if a fire was flickering on and off, on and off, on and off, doing one task of burning its wood, then taking a break and shifting into another task? Okay? I know this is kind of an odd example, but the fire is going to fire. It's going to light up because that's what it does when it's focused on the job of burning wood. But when it turns around and it focuses on another task, it's going to do something else. And so it's not there to burn the wood. It's not there to provide the heat, and the room does not get warm very quickly. It will get warm over time, over a lot of time, but it would get warm a lot faster if it stayed on the task of burning the wood. And our thoughts are like fire. That's why I use this example. Our thoughts are like fire. When we focus on a job, if our thoughts are focused on creating heat, burning wood, so if our thoughts are focused on a project and we're putting our time, our attention, our energy into it, it's going to accomplish its task. But when you stop and you shift directions all the time, whatever results you're going to get are going to be interrupted, and it's going to take longer, just naturally. But it's also going to take a lot longer, just like when you think about the fire, when it takes the time to ignite the fire, it takes time. It's not as simple as just, like walking over to a candle and you light a match and then you start it. Starting a fire takes time. Maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes, but every time you're shifting focus, that is literally what is happening. Your thoughts are taking time to get recentered. You've probably even heard yourself say these things like, what was I doing? What was I thinking about? What was I working on? This is your brain trying to realign. It is taking time, energy, and mental capacity to recall what you were working on and to get back into that focus. So for me, I am very anti-multitasking. When I look at my businesses, I'm able to run like 4 successful businesses. They all integrate and play off of each other, but I'm able to do that because I assign tasks of times, like blocks of times that says, this is what I'm going to work on. And when I'm there, I'm there. When I am coaching a client, I am eye contact with them. My ears are open. I'm 100% thinking about them. I'm thinking about what they're going to say. I am listening to what they have to say and truly trying to understand it. My thoughts are not on other areas of my business. My thoughts are not on what my character is going to do in the next scene. When I am present, I am 100% present and I get things done. I accomplish what I set out to accomplish. I am successful. I am efficient, and I know what to do. And this is one of the reasons I want to talk to you, because I've been there. I've been on the other side of things where you're looking at a job and the job is demanding that you multitask. But I don't play that game. Even when I was a risk manager, I set aside 2 hours to focus on answering my emails. I got to those emails. I focused on them. My bosses, my high client, any project that I was working on that was high priority, like acquisitions and mergers, for example, like when I did that, I had to do the reverse. I had to tell everybody I was going to be unavailable for at least 2 weeks to sometimes 2 months, because when you're in those, they take 100% of your focus. But like if I was working on, let's say, emails, and I was blocking that time, I set aside that time to work on emails. Everybody knew if something was important, if emergency came up. I mean, I managed all these things, right? So if there was a fire at one of our plants, people knew that this was my time that I was going to work on emails. And if emergency came, they knew to contact my secretary, and my secretary would interrupt me during this time, right? But other than that, I was blocking. I would not answer phone calls. I would not do anything, because that's what I was focusing on. And I would accomplish those, and I would come back to them later in the day. So even in the business world, I still set the time of what I was going to do. So I come in, I work on my emails. The next thing, I hit my number one top priority project. And here's the thing, even in writing, even it doesn't matter if I was doing the risk management role or I'm doing the writing. What I can tell you is that your brain, as far as doing creative processes, has about a 2-hour limit. Now, as somebody who used to be a risk manager and go in and write policies and procedures and outline people's jobs, I can tell you that most people are only truly in a productive time of 2 hours within that day. Can they do other tasks during the day? Absolutely. But there's a lot of research on this, there's a ton of research on this, that you truly only have like 2 hours in your day where you're getting a solid amount of focus, like intense focus. That's the type of focus I'm talking about. The intense focus of about 2 hours a day. You can train yourself to do more. And even me, I've been doing this forever, right? So there's days when I'm writing and I set that 2-hour time to write, because I know on average, people have about a 2-hour capacity of intense focus. Now, I am super trained doing this. I've been doing this for years. So there's definitely days when I can do more. But there's also days when I can do less. Like, it's not that I can't do it. It's just days when the creative flow isn't there. The intensity isn't there. I may have had a bad night of sleep. I may be just having an off day. So you take all of those things into consideration. I don't beat myself up over the days when I only have 45 minutes of intense focus, because I know that if I'm compassionate and I'm gentle with myself, and I just do other tasks that can be done that don't require the same amount of mental focus, that the next day I can come in and I can make up that time, because the next day I'm going to feel more empowered, more enriched, because I was gentle on myself the next day. And so the next day I can come in and I can dedicate my time. And maybe it's 2 to 3 days down the road. Maybe I was sick and it takes me a couple of days to recover. I don't beat myself up on it. I just understand that there's on average ability to have intense focus. So what I'm wanting you to understand, my intention for you to understand, is that you can get a lot more accomplished when you just set a timer for an activity that you need to get done. If there's something that you're procrastinating on and you don't want to do it, go in and start it, and maybe set a small amount of time. Say, I'm going to work on this for 15 minutes. There's things in my day that I don't like doing. I'm, human. I have these same experiences just like anybody else. There's things that I don't like doing. So I'll set an intention. Intention is super powerful. So if I know it's something that I don't like, I'll set the intention of what I want. So maybe it is, I am going to, with my kid, we have a lot of insurance bills. I'm always on the phone talking to them over policies and relating it back to my policy and why it should be covered. So anyway, those calls, just one call can take 45 minutes, to an hour. So I will set the intention that today I'm going to at least make one, insurance call. And then I just pick up the phone and I do it. That's it. I don't sit there and say, I'm going to get this and this and this and this and this and this. Like, I don't put this forever to-do list down. That is what prioritizing is. It's saying this is something that has to get done. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it in the top of my day or wherever you feel your energy is best suited for it. I'm a morning person, so for me, it's going to be in the top of the day. If you're not a morning person and you feel more energetic towards the end of the day, maybe yours is there. But you're saying, I am going to do this. Maybe it is, I'm going to work on this project that I can't stand for 15 minutes. And so you do that. There's a lot of times when I'm working on something that, like, for instance, when I was in medical coding, and that was really challenging for me, there were certain chapters that I didn't understand as well. For instance, medical coding on the skin. Your skin has 5 layers. There's all of these things dealing with cancer and how you code them, and it's complicated. The heart was also one that was really complicated. When you go in and you put a heart valve in, where is this heart valve? Is this related to a pacemaker? Is there a node? Like, all of these things are in there. So I know that those were more challenging, difficult things. They also made me super tired just focusing on them. So I would set a small time limit. I would do that. Then I would give myself permission to do something that was easier and lighter. Now, plenty of times I hit that 15-minute, alarm that went off, and I was in it and I was focused and I was okay. When you're procrastinating, the biggest thing sometimes is just getting started. If you are cleaning out your closets and you're getting ready to declutter your house and you're someone who doesn't like to get rid of your items, you set a timer. You set a goal. I'm going to get rid of 3 shirts. Make it something small, attainable, easy. And then you get started. You get started. That's the most important thing. So many people want to change their life and to change certain aspects. They want results. They want productivity. And they don't start. So set your goal super small. Set a time limit, super small and attainable, and just do it. So there's a couple of things that I have given you tips on. One, I am personally against multitasking. Now, there's times when it's a tool and it's useful. And when you're doing a lot of mindless activities, you can multitask, no problem. But when you want to be productive, if you're an entrepreneur out there and you want to be successful, this, podcast is here to help you. Because right now, I am telling you, think about the fact that you have a mental capacity, a bucket of energy and mental capacity. And I want you to think about drilling down on that bucket of energy and using all of that energy at one time in a task that requires your time, your attention, and your effort. And then when you come to that place where you're feeling like that, your brain has been taxed, your bucket is empty of energy, you switch to something that is mindless and you allow your energy to restore, to rejuvenate, to recover. And then maybe later in the day, you can do that again. But the point is there's recovery time, just like in a sprint. They were putting 100% effort in and they're going a distance. And then there's recovery. But they're staying on their course. If you have a full day, if you are a marathon and you have a full day of work ahead of you, what I'm asking you to do is to stop thinking of it as a sprint and shifting your attention. Like ADHD, they always say, people's minds shift like a squirrel, like they get distracted and their mind shifts. This is only a skill. One of the things is ADHD, just like any other thing out there, has a spectrum. And there's people that have a type of ADHD, which is hyper-focused. And that is something that I can say that I have because I have trained myself to have it. Now, I could be somebody who has my thoughts scattered all over the place. Everyone in my house has ADHD outside of me. They have that diagnosis. But even with their ADHD, they are able to sit down and focus on things that truly grab their attention. So it's learning. It's learning to start and set a timer, make it small and attainable, and only allow yourself to focus on that. Keep coming back. In yoga, at the end, we do Shavasana. So it's corpse pose. You lay down and you focus and you breathe. So many people are like, yoga isn't for me. My mind is too scattered, right? And so even if they can do the body movements and the poses, at the end when they come to Shavasana, they're the first ones that are hitting the door and running out of there because they don't want to sit down and lay. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Some people aren't comfortable with their thoughts. Some people just can't sit still, right? But a lot of things in life are about training your mind, conditioning your mind. Mind over matter, right? Conditioning yourself, honing in on a skill. You learn it and you develop it. Start with something small. So when we start doing breath work, we might start with just 3 breaths. Can you hold your attention for 1 breath? Can you hold your attention for 2 breaths? And then you're building 3 breaths. You stay at 3 breaths for a while. Can you build it? So learning to hone your attention is going to help you be successful. It's going to get you the results that you need. At the end of the day, it's going to get you that feeling of satisfaction that you accomplish things. But the more that you jump from one activity to the other and you multitask on things that really truly require your attention, the less productive, the less results you're going to have, the more frustration you're going to feel, the more judgment a lot of people put on themselves because they didn't accomplish what they wanted to. All right. Just to summarize, start small. Start, first of all. Set the intention for something small, attainable. Keep in mind that you only have, on average, this is research done out there, 2 hours of mental capacity that requires intense focus. Figure out when you are most optimized, when your energy is at its peak, and use that time to do your focus work. Set aside the things that are most important to you and do those during that peak time, and know that, on an average, you are looking at 2 hours of this, and then get it done. Write your podcasts during those 2 hours. That's something that takes a mental capacity. If you are somebody who launches a business, prepare what you're doing during your launch during those 2 hours. If you are an artist, set aside that time to be working on what you're going to be drawing, painting, because once you get into something and your body takes over and gets into the subconscious, then it doesn't take that mental focus. You're going to get into a rhythm, you're going to get things going, and it's going to happen for you. All right, take care, loves. Wishing you the best. You matter. Thank you for listening to this episode. It is an honor to serve you. If you found any of this information helpful, I would love for you to share this podcast with your friends and loved ones, as well as subscribe to this podcast. I would also be grateful for a 5-star review. You matter. Until next time.